Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Khwabnama, the podcast where we connect you with seasoned entrepreneurs. I'm your host Abdullah Siddiqui,
I'm Mariam Dar.
and today we have in the studio with us Saim Iqbal, the founder of PinkFly.
Assalamualaikum, sir.
Welcome, Islam.
How are you?
I'm good. I would really like to not be referred as sir.
Okay, sure.
I don't think I'm that old.
I mean, 28 is a little much. I don't know.
Older than us, is it?
Yeah.
I feel like you've met me for the first time, and so you calling me sir feels forced. Like you don't know me well enough to call me sir voluntarily. So you can just call me Saim.
Acha, so Saim, like I saw that you were renovating your office. Okay, how's that going?
It's going pretty good. This is our third office. So we used to have an office in NUST, which we vacated because the entry in this university is very difficult.
Yeah.
Then I used to sleep in the office sometimes, and NUST used to find me every time I would sleep. They would just like lock my car, and I would have to pay them 500 rupees to get it opened.
Okay.
So we decided to get an office slash apartment in Gulberg. So I used to live there and work there. And then they sent us a notice that you can't run an office here. So they kicked us out. And now we have an office and an apartment.
Since you moved from NUST to Gulberg, would you say there are any advantages to having your office in the university?
I would say that NUST is probably a good place to have an office because a lot of students just walk in. And generally, NUST students are pretty smart.
Are you buttering us up?
Yeah, I'm having a slight feeling.
It was a general statement. It has nothing to do with the two of you. I don't know you guys well enough to know if you guys are smart enough. Him I know enough. You're pretty smart.
Thank you.
I feel it as an insult. I am smart as well.
You're probably smart. I just don't know that yet. But yeah, I would say the benefit is that you get a lot of students come to you. I guess having other startups around you could also be a benefit. Although I didn't find that as a benefit because a lot of times some founder would come in and be like, hey, we're doing a trip, a founder's trip. You want to come with us? I'm like, no, I have to work. So I think, yeah, there's pros and cons. Definitely more benefits than cons, yeah.
Okay.
Basically, free के interns मिल जाते हैं.
We've never taken free interns, so I can't speak on that, but I guess some people get that. We pay interns.
Yeah, that's really nice of you. Actually, I think Simon, before we dive into the nitty gritty of it, I think a lot of people would be wondering about your own story because you've mentioned a couple of times you dropped out. You were in the army, for example, and you used to live in Canada before you shifted to Pakistan. So can you give us a brief timeline of
Brief.
events ek tarah se?
Yeah, it's a very hard to follow background. So when I was 18, I joined the army. I was very excited to join the army.
So why did you join Vaisa? What was the reasoning behind that?
I'll have to give you guys the honest answer because I just promised to not lie. I was in love with this girl and she wanted me to go in the army, so I joined the army. At 18, I think people don't really know what they want with their life. And I was just confused. I was like, okay, army seems cool. And so I joined the army. And I actually did pretty well in the army. I was the number one cadet of my course. I was selected to go to America from the army. But I have this thing that I find it very hard to follow orders. And so I was actually withdrawn from the army, which was not the fun part. And then I actually got into NUST. And I considered going to NUST. Actually, we should backtrack a bit. I first went to MCE, which is Military College of Engineering, which is technically NUST. So I was in NUST before anything. And I hated that. I hated studying. So I was like, okay, transfer me to PMA. So I went to PMA. Then I got, then after PMA, I figured that I wanted to go abroad. I actually did high school in Canada for a year. So I did ninth in Canada when I was like 15. So I really wanted to go back to Canada. I think that's where more of the technology was. America, Canada, and I really wanted to work in tech. So I left Pakistan. I went to two different universities in Canada. I had a 4 GPA in both of them, so I did fairly well there. I was doing computer science. And then Tesla was my dream company. Tab. I know you don't.
I have very mixed feelings about Tesla.
Yeah. Well, this is before Elon was in politics. So, this is 2018, 2019, 2020, actually 2021. And Tesla was coming to my university. And so there was this conference and I was very excited to go there. So I went there and I met this guy there. He had a startup and after our meeting, he told me that he would like for me to come and meet him. And the next day I went and met him, and he told me that every developer that he talked to there asked him how much he was going to pay them. And I was the only one who was like, "Oh, what you're doing is really cool." And I gave him some like further ideas, and so he thought he wanted to like hire me. So I got a job as an intern, and that was my first ever job. All the jobs I did before that were like snow shoveling. I was a cab driver, which was fun. Being a cab driver in Canada is pretty fun. Also, like served as a server. Yeah, snow shoveling is the worst job I've ever done. I would not recommend. Yeah, it's you're the only person on the streets all night just shoveling snow.
Yeah, I can imagine. Like,
I love snow whistle. I've never seen it. I love snow whistle.
I don't think you'd love snow.
I want you to imagine this. There's a snowstorm in Canada, and there are only three people out, and you're one of them, and you have like this shovel in your hand, and all you're doing all night is just shoveling snow. You get paid a lot. You get like $30 an hour, but yeah, but when you come back, you're like, I'm never doing that again. I actually never did that again. I also used to do sales. I used to sell sunglasses. So when I look at people's glasses, I look at if they fit their faces. So I'm judging both of you right now.
I think.
Does it fit? Does it fit?
But actually, you know what? I don't think I want to know.
I think yours fits more than like his.
I agree, actually. I've been wanting to get new ones, but I think that's sort of beside the topic.
So then I joined that startup, and what I would do is I would just go to the office at like 8 a.m. and then I just wouldn't leave. I would just stay there till 2 a.m. And at 2 a.m. sometimes there would be no buses back to my apartment. So the founder would just have to drop me. And then after like 2 months, he was like, "Hey, you just wanna like, there's an extra room and there's like a mattress there. You just wanna like start sleeping there." And so I would just sleep there. And then he just moved me into the office. So I lived in the office. I worked in the office, and I started as a development intern. I didn't really know much code, and then I slowly started moving to like operations, marketing, and I just did everything there. I ran the company for like 2 years.
By this, did you already leave your university?
So I was still in university, and then one day he was like, "Why are you in university?" And I was like, "I don't know. My parents want me to be in university, and I need to like get this PR thing, and I need to like become a Canadian, so I need it." And he was like, "I think that's stupid, and uh, degrees are just stupid." And I kind of agreed because my degree wasn't teaching me that much, and we had this.
Do you still agree with that?
Yeah. We had this like honest conversation, and he decided that I should drop out, and I agreed. So I told my parents I'm dropping out, to which they were like, "If you do that, we will disown you." I dropped out, but that worked out pretty well for me. I made some money, and then I was on holidays in Pakistan, and a friend of mine, she actually went to NUST. She took a Kareem to go somewhere, and she had a very bad incident, and I talked to a lot of people about that, and all the girls were like, "Oh, this is so common, like मेरी दोस्त के साथ भी हुआ है." Yeah, and I was like, "What do you mean मेरी दोस्त के साथ भी हुआ है, मेरी दोस्त के साथ भी हुआ है? Like that's not normal." And they all said it was normal, so I decided, okay, I want to fix this problem. I went on Twitter and I saw some posts by girls, "Hey, this happened," and what other companies were doing was, "Okay, so something really bad happened to you. How about a discount on your next ride?"
Yeah, they just
Yeah,
give
they
a
just give you a
discount.
15%
Yeah,
voucher or something, and you're like, okay.
a discount.
I feel like that's very disrespectful. Like you telling someone that something really bad happened to me, and they're like, "How about a discount? Come back again." So we decided that we're gonna build a new service that would do better customer support, and we've been doing that for a year now.
I love the name of your company, PinkFly.
Yeah, how do you come up with it?
I wish I could lie. In my last company, we were raising some funds, and there's a Web3 venture capital named Dragonfly, and they have a very fancy website, and they have this dotted dragonfly on their website. And I really liked that. And when I imagined about safety, I thought that PinkFly would be this creature, like a fairy that like protects you.
Okay.
That was the essence.
This is so cool.
Yeah, so that's how we came up with the name. Everything PinkFly was taken, so we actually started with P1NKFly. But then eventually, when I spoke to people who do marketing, they were like, "That's really stupid. You need to take out the one." So now it's just PinkFly.
Okay, yeah. I think I saw like one of your podcasts where you talked. I think was time paid was still P1K fly.
This guy told me that I should tell people that it's number one, so that's why there's a one.
Okay, yeah. Saim, you mentioned that you have this really cool idea, and you have a new office and everything. But one thing that I think a lot of people, जब भी मैंने किसी को बताया है कि oh, you know, the PinkFly guy is coming, the first question they've had is कि
लॉन्च डेट
launch date क्यों
आगे
आगे हुई
पुश
जा
हुई
रही है.
जा रही है हुई जा रही है.
Yeah, that's a nice question. I'm actually answering this live on Saturday, so we're gonna go live and I'll just tell everyone. Um, so there's two types of startups. There's B2B startups which like sell to businesses, and there's B2C startups which sell to customers, right? We are a very consumer facing product. So we feel that if we launch something, we have so much support, we've gotten so much support, we don't want to disappoint people. If we were just a product that was made for other companies, we would just give it to them and iterate on that. I feel putting a product out that would not be as good as, let's say, InDrive is not something that we want to do. So we really want to take our time with it. But what's really happened every single time is the first time we pushed the launch date was because we scratched our whole app. We looked at it, we were like, this is not good design. And so we redesigned it. You've heard of Sada Pay, right? We got the Sada Pay guys to come in, and them and I used to have a call every single day, and we redesigned the whole app. And then we kind of restarted in January, and we thought, okay, by March this should be done. That was a very aggressive deadline, and the app was ready, but there were bugs, and we did not want to give a buggy things to people. Normally it works, it's fine. You can just give your product to customers and iterate, but we've already had so much support, and a lot of people already know about PinkFly, right? So we feel like we want to fulfill the expectations that people have of us. So we're going to launch once and we're going to do it right. Now, this is very counterintuitive to startup talk because every startup mentor will tell you, okay, oh, just launch a shitty product and then iterate on it. I don't think that's necessarily true for very consumer based products because people can be very unforgiving. Like people would come take a ride and they'd be like, okay, this was a very bad experience.
And you're just, you know, shooting yourself in the foot शुरू में.
Even if you say it कि ठीक हो गया, they won't do it again.
Yes, and then they like might come a second time, but then they're like, okay, you know what? They're just not a good enough company. So we want to really compete with the big players. And so for us to do that, we really need an app that's as good as them, if not better.
You said कि एक तो अभी आपकी क्योंकि you were short on deadline और app वाला सारा, and you said कि you are even sleeping in your office. How do you balance your work life and your personal life? Or
So I'm on a mission, and that mission is a lot bigger than just PinkFly. Like I want to do something for this country, and I want to leave a legacy. And so I think anyone can have anything that they want from life. You just have to back that up with work. So I don't think that I get to have work-life balance.
I think like that's
very
like a
nice.
very common answer we've gotten कि अगर you want to actually start something, then
You have
सबसे
to push
पहली चीज़
yourself.
आपको जो फेंकनी पड़ती है ना वो आपको work life balance ही होता है and you
Yeah.
have to sacrifice a lot.
And if you want work-life balance, that's fine. Like everyone gets to choose what they want. But then I think you're better suited to work at like a corporate company because those companies really value these things. But they've already gotten big, right? The default state of a startup is dead, and so you're constantly trying to undead it.
अच्छा, one thing though, you mentioned कि you wanted to better Pakistan and that's why you came from Canada. Now here's what I see, like अगर somebody immediately listens to that, then I think कि कुछ लोगों के दिमाग में ये बात आएगी because I think that's very fair कि that's like a marketing statement.
This isn't something that like happened overnight. I actually just wanted to make a lot of money because my outlook on life was okay, you make a lot of money and you take care of your family and like that's
And
life,
that's
right?
success.
That's success. So in my last company, I used to go to different parts of the world to represent that company. So I went to Singapore and I was invited to this invite-only party. And it was just very successful people. These are like millionaires, and I looked at them and they just had no depth to them. They had no meaning in their life. All they were trying to do was, can I get a girl to go home with me tonight? And they were all just like, some of them were on drugs. Now, some of them were cool, but I figured from that party was, okay, money isn't everything. And like, if this is the end goal of what I'm trying to be, like, I don't really want this. And then I really thought about it. Okay, what do I do with my life, right? And I was also following a lot of people, you probably wouldn't like them. Like people like David Goggins, people who've, built their life up from literally scratch. And I thought, okay, I need some meaning in my life. And usi raat, me and my friends in Canada, we were playing cards. And I talked about like Pakistan, like so people in Pakistan should do something. And someone there said, oh, Pakistan ka kuch nahi ho sakta.
Yeah, I think that's a very common mentality even Pakistan ke andar.
A lot of Pakistanis living abroad look down on Pakistanis living in Pakistan. And so I talked about fixing Pakistan that night, and everyone was like, you can't do it. And so I was like, yeah, okay, this seems like a mission that I can take on. Yeah, this seems like something that is really, really hard that people think can't be done. And I've always thrived on doing things that people tell me that I can't do. And so my reasons, I have this term which is selfishly selfless. And so I'm doing this because I think if I can do anything to better Pakistan, that would fulfill me. And like that gives me purpose. Like I'm very happy with my life. I take no days off. I don't take Eid off. I don't take Christmas off.
Okay, that is intense.
I have this thing with my family ke you guys can talk to me in the morning, like at like 8 a.m., 7 a.m., or you guys can talk to me at like 9 p.m., 10 p.m. when I come back. But like uske darmiyan, I'm not bringing water. I'm like not going to do anything. I'll get you guys a driver if you guys want, but I have like very important things that I have to do. I'm just like always either working or studying. I do listen to some music, which I'm trying to cut down now.
This is off topic, but I'm just very interested.
A lot of things. I used to listen to a lot of Pakistani pop. Anurul Khalid used to be like my co-founder. Very nice singer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
of course.
So a lot of like I think there's a lot of like very cool Pakistani artists, and I'm all for like the Pakistani industry getting big. I listen to a lot of Kendrick Lamar.
I love Kendrick.
Yeah, Kendrick Lamar is probably my favorite. But I've been trying to cut down on music. I've been trying to focus a lot more. My life's mission is like other than like fixing Pakistan is to build this company I called Ilm. I haven't told many people about Ilm, but do you guys want to talk about Ilm or do you have?
Yeah, no, sure. Let's talk about Ilm.
There's this book Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell, and it talks about very, very successful people. People like Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, and what it talks about is ke, if you look at their lives closely, all of these very successful visionaries had a huge head start when they were kids.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So Mark started Facebook when he was 19. Steve started Apple when he was 21. So like, how can a 21-year-old like start a company that would go on to be $1 trillion company? Like he has to be doing that for a time, right? So what people don't know about Steve Jobs is that his stepfather, like no, he was an adopted child.
Acha, I didn't know that.
When Steve was 9, he called the founder of HP. Okay, like, hey, I want to like build this thing. Can I get some parts? And he actually got those parts.
Oh.
There's this problem in Pakistan where we put children in boxes. Okay, you have to do physics, chemistry, maths.
पहले FSC करनी है,
Yeah,
फिर
पहले FSC करनी है,
फिर बैचलर्स
engineering
करना है,
करनी है,
फिर
medical
मास्टर्स
करना है,
करना है, मास्टर्स के लिए बाहर जाना है.
In FSC maths, there's this thing कि okay, इस तरह के सवाल आएंगे, तो I'm just gonna practice this. That is really, really stupid.
It is. It is.
Now I did grade 9 in Canada, and when I did grade 9 there, they in my grade 9 classes in Canada, they would teach us like do projects. Okay, so this is a technology class, so we're gonna build like this little RC car. And this is like a business class, so we're gonna give you a dummy account and you're gonna go trade. What we do is we have embedded theoretical knowledge so deeply in our education system, and it benefits no one because our education system is built to incentivize cheating. Because all I have to do is get good marks.
Cheating or your memory?
I know people who would spend hours building chits that they will hide somewhere, and they could have like spent that hour just learning.
No, I've seen that as well. कि मैट्रिक का एग्जाम है और उससे आखिरी दिन आप अपनी किताब को काट रहे हो.
Yeah.
Right. So I believe that education should be project based, not like test based, because like you can either build something or you can't, and even if it's something small, like that gives you a lot of validation and you actually learn.
Actually, let's expand on this a little bit because you mentioned the book by Malcolm Gladwell, and उसमें you said कि ज़्यादातर लोग जो successful होते हैं, they all have a very big head start. And I think the purpose of us being here today is to sort of, infer के अगर किसी के पास वो head start नहीं
नहीं
है
है.
तो वो क्या करे. So like, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I didn't have that head start. So what my FSC looked like was just out with my friends all night. I almost failed FSC, and um, my physics paper almost got cancelled. I just had like formulas written all over my arms, and this invigilator, he came over and he saw them. He was like, "ये क्या है?" I was like, "क्या है?"
Sir, कुछ भी नहीं है सर.
मुझे तो नजर नहीं आ रहा, आपको नजर आ रहा है?
I think I was like 18, and I had this like huge ego, and I was like, "Aapko kya hai?" And like, very bad move. Should not have done that. Should have apologized. To prove a point, he like took my paper and then he put it in like this plastic bag, and he came back. He was like, "Ab jao." And I was like, "Okay, 10 minutes mein wapas kar denge." And I just sat there, and everyone was like, "Just apologize." And I was like, "I'm not apologizing. Like, I'm not apologizing. What do you mean?" And then I figured, oh, I'm not getting my paper back. And like then he brought this statement के इस पे लिखो कि मुझे कोई मसला नहीं अगर मेरे पे 3 साल का केस कर दिया जाए. And I wasn't even good at writing it. Yeah, I was like, oh no. फिर I was just like, okay, अब तो हो गया. And I went outside, and I used to be the captain of my college's football team, and or the sir who used to coach us, he was there, and he was like, paper kaisa hua? And I told him, I was like, oh, I don't know.
Sir,
हुआ ही नहीं.
And then he took me to the principal, and the principal was like, "Kya hua?" And I told him, he was like, "Acha hua." And then that coach, I owe my life to him. He said to the principal, "K, he's a very good kid, and like he helped our team, and he's like won us trophies." And then they were like, "Okay, कि हम आपका paper check करवा देंगे." And I think 27 are like passing marks in like second year. I got 27,
I don't know.
oh,
so I passed. And so I didn't study in FSC. So my basics are very weak. People who didn't get a head start, what they have to do is they just have to. I think we suffer from comparing ourselves to other people. So we're like, okay, I'm in the middle of this mountain, and there are people who are at the top, but they got to the top because they built this thing when they were like Nietzsche, which is the fundamentals. And so what you have to do, I think, which is what I'm trying to do, is go back down and like learn those things and then go back up. I think we are so afraid of starting from zero. We're like, no, I can't do that right now because these people are ahead of me. You just have to like not compare yourself to others.
क्योंकि अगर आप इस
Exactly.
मेंटालिटी में पड़ जाओ कि मैं कुछ कर ही नहीं सकता, then
मेरे से होगा
yeah,
नहीं, या मेरे पास
then you're
resources
never
नहीं
going
है.
to end up doing it anyway.
Yeah.
You guys are like electrical engineers, right? I'm a university dropout. In 1 year, we will have a conversation about electrical engineering, and you guys would be pretty impressed by how much I know because I will go and teach myself.
We will be seeing about
Yeah.
that. Actually, we do have a standing appointment for this, I guess.
But हाँ, तो I think you just have to take a step back and go learn the things that you didn't learn in the first place. Because education is about, if you're trying to build the future, you can't keep doing what everyone else has done. जैसे कि if you want to learn from, let's say, Larry Page and Sergey Brin, who built Google, you can't go build another search engine. What you have to do is, but then like, how do you go build the future? To build the future, you need to know the basics of what you're trying to do.
Okay, you just said कि basics आनी चाहिए, education is necessary. So do you think degree is necessary as well?
I think what a degree gives you is this curriculum that is very hard to find outside a degree. So I think degrees are a huge help only if you actually study. I think most people doing degrees right now don't do degrees to study. They do degrees to do degrees.
Yeah, just get a degree.
I'm gonna go do a bachelor's degree. Okay, now I've done a bachelor's degree. I don't know that much. I don't know what to do. I'll go get a master's degree. I still don't know much. Okay, I'll go do like this MPhil thing because that makes you seem like you're educated. I think what people should focus more on is, what do I really want to do with my life? Which is why I think gap years are amazing.
So that is a controversial take, मेरे ख्याल में.
I totally disagree. Don't you think gap year is like mentally very exhausting and it just stresses you out?
It's mentally very exhausting because everyone is telling you, okay, what are you doing with your life? And people are just bearing on you. Okay, like, why are you on a gap year? Look at your friend. They're in AMC or they're in NUML or they're in NUST. What are you doing with your life? I'll give you an example. Sam Altman, the founder of ChatGPT, OpenAI, before OpenAI, he was the president of Y Combinator. And while he was running Y Combinator, he made a lot of money. And then he was like, I'm going away for a year. He came back and then he started ChatGPT. I think the reason I'm trying to cut down music from my life is because I want to replace that time by just deep thinking about myself. Um, so I think people should get degrees if they wanna be something, and that degree will help them get there. So if you wanna go build a bridge, you should go get a civil engineering degree. If you wanna build software, you should get a computer science degree. I think that's cool. Um, I think this is gonna offend a lot of people. Um, I think business degrees are a scam. Because I think the only way to teach business is by doing business. So I was suggestion to like fix business degrees. I think the way business degrees should be structured is okay, you come in your first year, you take 6 months, you look at different companies, you come up with an idea, and then your professors help you make that idea better, and then in your second year you work on that idea. And so I think to do a startup, you have to learn everything about business anyway. So I think just say you guys are electrical engineers, right? If you guys just read like 3 books on, let's say, embedded systems, can you make one?
No.
Like, can you actually make something without doing it? So I think too much theory is just bad.
Yeah.
I think in fact lab में बैठ के भी I
हाँ,
think
we are still
12 लैब
clueless
का भी
कि
like
क्या
क्या
हो
ये
रहा
क्या
है,
हो रहा है यहाँ पे क्यों
हो
चल
क्या
रहा
रहा
है
है.
Yeah, you just have to spend a lot of time doing what you want to do.
Yeah.
And so I think if you want to do a business, go like just start something. And it would be nice to have like business schools that help you do that.
Every single person doing a business degree right now, they're gonna come for you.
Yeah.
I'm really sorry, guys. It's just okay. Everything that I'm saying is like purely anecdotal, and it's my what I believe, and I could be wrong.
नहीं actually we've talked a lot about technical skills. ठीक है, और मेरे ख्याल में one thing that university does is कि आपको एक environment provide कर देती है जहाँ पे आप soft skills भी बना सकते हैं. How important do you think that is from a perspective of university and in general as well for entrepreneurs?
Oh, very important. If you can't describe your idea succinctly, you can't really do anything. Like if you look at Steve Jobs, Steve Jobs has this like very famous video. So jeans have like 2 pockets. It has like one big pocket and then one like little pocket. And like no one ever uses the little pocket. And like Steve Jobs just like showed up on stage one day, and he's like, I always wondered what this pocket is for. And then he just pulled out like an iPod from it. So Steve Jobs is like, he is technical, but he is also very good at communication. I think another really good thing about universities is that you can find people to build with.
Exactly,
True.
exactly.
So I think universities are really good for networking. They're really good for improving your speaking skills. They're really good for socializing. But I think the purpose of university is education.
अच्छा, let's say somebody has an idea. ठीक है, like you mentioned anecdotally कि something happened to your friend and you've seen all these women go through similar things, so that's why you decided to start PinkFly. Let's say कि कोई बंदा है who has a very good idea to solve a very big problem in Pakistan, but they have no idea how to actually start doing it. Like, what would be the first step you would take, or would suggest somebody to take?
If you just Google successful startups, you will find out you will very soon find out with very little research that there's this thing called Y Combinator. And so if you go deeper into Y Combinator has a YouTube channel.
Actually, you're not the only one who's mentioned that. This, I think, podcast is becoming an unofficial marketing thing for Y Combinator.
Y Combinator is great though, but they have a startup school, and they have a lot of videos on YouTube which are from like Sam Altman, Peter Thiel, Paul Graham, and all of these people have done successful startups, and they teach you how to do a startup if they would do it. And so if you just listen to those 20 videos, I think you can go start a startup. So everything, the great thing about our time is that everything's available online. You just have to go find it.
Do you think it's easy to start a business or startup these days?
I think every startup founder would agree that startups are harder than they think they are. People from the outside are like, oh, just do this. Like, it's not that simple. Which is why I don't take advice from everyone. I only take advice from people who are where I want to be in life. So no, startups are really difficult, but you have to start somewhere.
Asha, talk to some people. Did you have any founding company team with you, or did you start it alone?
So like in the very beginning, we had a lot of people. We had a very big founding team because a lot of people really resonated with the idea, but they all just like kind of left. I would say I technically have a co-founder. Mohammed, my chief operating officer, is technically my co-founder because he's been here from the beginning. But no, I'm a solo founder. I've tried very hard to find a female co-founder because for a very long time, uh, people's biggest problem was, "Ke, why are you a man?" And I just
Yeah, actually, we were gonna ask you that as well. That was one thing we were gonna ask you. Why are you a man?
Why?
people ask me, "Why are you a man?" I'm like, I don't know. Like that's like something that God decided. It's like I don't know. That's something that I still don't have a good answer to. So for a very long time, to please people, I was like, okay, let's have a female co-founder. But then I decided, okay, what am I doing? Like it's my idea. I know what I'm doing, or at least I think I know what I'm doing. So I'm just gonna go build it, and then people will see it in the product and how good we do. So now I don't care.
Yeah, and I think honestly that just goes to show that like you don't really have to be a woman to do something for women.
Yeah, to understand their problems, you don't
Yeah,
have to.
honestly, you just
You
have to
don't have
talk
to be
to
the same
people and to
gender.
understand. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think women who want to go do things need to be able to go do those things, and we can't really compete with other countries if we're stuck on what this is what you have to wear, and if you don't wear this, you're out, right? So we have to like move past those things. And again, I'm doing this more for Pakistan because I think if I was to go to a university and I had to worry about how I'm going to get there, I'm not focused on what I'm going to learn. I'm focused on how I'm getting there. So a safe travel is number one. We also want to do a lot of other things for women. Like we want to build a skills marketplace where if you have a skill, if you know how to make chips, you can tell a skill like, hey, I know how to make chips and I'm really good at it. So I want to teach that to other women. And then you can put like a course, and not really a course, like a storied guide. He came up with this like micro learning of sorts. I think people don't like courses, so you can build like a step by step guide of how to do something. But the point of doing that is not teaching them advanced chip making, but to spark interest. Because again, most people don't know. I don't know anything about embedded system.
I think that's genuinely like not just a women's issue. I think that's an issue in general in Pakistan. कि even you talked about FSC and the state of the education system. लोगों को नहीं पता होता कि उन्होंने क्या करना है.
Yeah.
Me personally, I don't really have anyone in my family who has pursued higher education to that extent.
Same.
So
Yeah.
like I really had no clue कि कौन सी degree में क्या होता है. I
And
think that could
इसको
be really
फिर थोड़ा
helpful.
idea था because he has an elder sister.
Yeah, I have an elder sister. उसी
मैं
ने
तो-
मुझे guide किया
मैं
ज़्यादा.
तो बड़ी हूँ तो I was the experienced child, मतलब सारे experience मेरे पे हुए हैं.
And then there's this merit list. Okay, आपका mechanical में merit में आ गए तो अब आप mechanical करने जा रहे हो. And often these students don't even know what a mechanical engineer does.
Yeah.
What happens in foreign universities is if you're a little confused, like I don't really know what I want to be, you go through this like foundational year where you can pick any courses. You can do psychology, you can do computer science, you can do engineering, and then in a year is a very long time, and you find out, oh, this is something that I really like. Then you go do that. I think for at least the best universities in Pakistan should do this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think what that does is a lot of people they get to their second year and then they're just like मैंने ये degree नहीं करनी. I'm just gonna get through it.
Yeah.
और बस फिर just gonna get done with it.
So so if you do that for the last 2 years of your degree, you're just not going to focus, and so that's just time wasted. And I think that can be,
Time wasted, money wasted,
Money
effort
wasted.
wasted.
and time is something that you never get back, right? So that could be avoided if we just let children explore a little.
Acha, okay, so like we've also talked about your experiences abroad and how they sort of form this mentality. What do you think specifically regarding the workplace? बाहर के मुल्क क्या करते हैं जो हम नहीं करते जो हमें करना चाहिए? Just in general be and specifically regarding women as well.
I think there's this thing that I would call cost of failure. The cost of failure in a country like Pakistan is very high because if you do something and it doesn't work, then you are the laughing stock. You're like, see, we told you, like, you shouldn't have done this. I think in the West, people are very supportive. So if you come up with an idea and you fail, they're actually like, oh, at least you tried. So I think we first need to remove this fear that people have, what if I fail? Because if you're constantly thinking about what if you fail, you're never going to be able to do anything. Like, I have no fear of failing. The reason, I am putting all of my money in PinkFly. Because I don't really care. People are like, oh, what if it fails? What are you going to do? I'll see. Like, failing is part of the risk that you take, right? So you have to first remove failure from that. Now, coming to women, um, I think NUST is like really good. I think NUST is great when it comes to like women empowerment.
Yeah, we're filled with, the studio is filled with women here. Like guys can't see this, but like the team is very nice and they're all women.
Again, it all comes down to like education. You speak very succinctly, but you're here because of education, right? And the only thing that really, okay, there's this famous proverb, I think, "Akal badi ya bhans," right? So, which one is it?
What do you think?
I think
I would say bhens. Akal hai to bhens badi hai na.
You stumped him. He's like, मैं क्या कहूँ?
yeah, but okay, a little bit of neuroscience. This is all I know. But when animals come with predefined patterns in their brains, and so a tiger will most likely hunt, right? An elephant does what it does.
You're talking about like the instinct they have, or like the nature.
It's called neuroplasticity.
Neuroplasticity, how much your brain can change over time.
So when a kitten is born,
Yeah.
it takes it a week to become independent because its patterns are like preset, and so it doesn't need to like learn anything from its environment. What humans do is ke, till 3-4 years old, you don't really know anything because you pick up everything from your environment. So everything is nurture and education. Like even if you talk about um, addictions, right?
Yeah, there's a very major genetic component to addiction.
But it's also about your upbringing. So like a lot of what you're doing in your teens is just
How you were brought up.
bearing the circumstances of your upbringing. So like education is still the key indicator of how well you'll do in life.
You talked about support system and everything. Did you have a support system?
I've had to really like overcome everyone telling me that this will never work. Like everyone telling me that it's just a ride hailing service. And what people expect is a perfect solution. And so when you can't, there's no perfect solution. So in the beginning, there was no support. But I think as you keep building, you just have to get through that phase. And now there's a lot of support.
You have to show people you can do it.
Yeah, I guess. So my team supports me, you guys support me. Even my parents are kind of supportive.
Okay, so one thing I did want to ask is that you mentioned that like you put everything into this and that people shouldn't really have the fear of failure. And I think fear of failure to ek cheez hai. But I think since you also mentioned that the cost of failure in Pakistan is very high, how important do you think for the average person is it to have a backup plan? And how would you go on about building a backup plan if you could?
I feel like my answer to this is very biased because I do come from a fairly well off family. So even if I say that I have no backup plan, it's not like I'm going to go be homeless. But I think you have to choose what you want from life. So if you want a backup plan, a startup is probably not the bestest thing for you because especially if you're building a very high tech startup, it requires going so all in and so many things break. It's just very easy to fall on that backup plan because if you have like a exit door, you'll take that exit door as yes. I think I would define running a tech startup like jumping off of a plane and then figuring out how to build a parachute while you're falling. And I think there's an aspect to it where you kind of have to go all in.
Are you quoting someone, Wes?
You might have heard that on my like I posted that on my story the other day. So you might I don't know, like someone might have said that, but no, I didn't hear this somewhere. But yeah, I think backup plans it depends on your life situation, which is why you can't look at other people and compare yourselves to them because you don't have their benefits and their disadvantages. You're the right control for you. So you need to look for yourself. Okay, if this fails, my family dies. And then you probably can't take that risk, right?
Okay.
Like let's say
That's kind of an extreme thing.
Extreme.
you're the only person who is the breadwinner of your family, right? Then you probably can't afford having nothing, right? Um, So I think this is something that everyone has to figure out for themselves. I, for one, do not have a backup plan. I have another startup idea, which is Ilm, and I've kind of started working on that, thoda thoda. But if this fails, I'll just go do another startup.
Acha, I just want to know a little more about the services you provide.
What PinkFly provides, I provide no services.
No, PinkFly. Sorry, PinkFly.
Yeah, so right now it's only travel. So think of us as a safer version of Uber. I can use Uber because Uber is not in Pakistan. Do you think PinkFly only has female drivers? I want to ask you that.
No.
No.
No, we did a
We did some
fairly
research.
thorough background check.
Yeah.
Thanks for doing that because a lot of people think, okay, we have female drivers. You're both educated people. Okay, scale is really important. So I'm not building a solution for 100 women. If I wanted to build for like my friends, I would just match them with like some female drivers that I knew. What I'm trying to build is I'm trying to build something that one day would be in the hands of 1 million people. So if we just did female drivers, we would never be able to serve 1 million people.
Uh-huh.
So what we've done is we've built some safety features inside the app, and so we're hoping to uphold accountability. Now our drivers are the same as other services initially, but here's how this works. So let's say we have 100 drivers, and service A that I cannot name has another 100 drivers, right? Same drivers. So let's say something happens and a girl complains to service A and us. We go look at the monitored ride. Okay, what happened? And let's say okay, the driver was swearing at you. We can instantly kick off that driver. It's a very deterministic decision. Whereas what service A does is, okay, we don't really know what happened. Here's a discount.
Yeah, and I think we've all been there, Wes.
Yeah.
The swearing thing, at least.
So what happens is, okay, at PinkFly, on the very first instance, a bad driver gets kicked off, and then they can't come back. Whereas the same driver gets like 3-4 times of doing something before they get kicked off. So I think most people are generally good people. And so it's a few people who do these things, but they do it with such high frequency, it becomes a norm. So our plan is, okay, if you do something on PinkFly, you never get to drive on PinkFly again, and we will actually pursue it. We will take whatever legal action that we have to. We will have proof, right? So that helps. The second thing is, okay, we have live customer support, which no other service does. So if, let's say you're in a PinkFly and you have booked an AC ride, but the AC is not on, you might not feel comfortable talking to the driver. There are some people, some girls that don't. You can click a support button and someone will reply within a minute, and you can tell them, okay, hey, the AC is not on. What we're optimizing for is comfort. Okay, we want women to have a comfortable experience. The first thing that every girl does when they get in a ride-hailing service is send their location to someone, right? So we do all that for them. Like there is someone sitting in the back, and we're also trying to partner with the police, Islamabad police. We've had conversations with them where, because we can prove that someone is actually in trouble, we want precedence. So if a PinkFly customer support agent calls the police, they should react first because they're actually in trouble. And then I think this happens over time, but we also want to build SK. We want to be able to track rides based on the GPS location and not just like the, Wi-Fi.
Yeah, I think that was one question we did have, but I guess you've
Yeah.
covered that already.
So what we've done is, all the drivers that we're bringing in right now, we're actually talking to all of them. We're making sure we know like is driver ko kaun leke aaya hai. So it's like a tree, right? He brings me, so like I know like who to go to, right? So yeah, so there would be like accountability. It's not you just come to the app. Right now, drivers cannot sign up. They have to come talk to us and we sign them up. So in the beginning, we can take care of all of this manually, but at scale, we're going to need more tech built in the app. But we're using technology and doing it from more of a social perspective. I don't think our tech is better than other services, but I think we're more socially responsible because we understand the social dynamic more than foreign companies do. And all the companies operating in Pakistan are foreign companies.
Okay, so you mentioned your business is B2C, right? So B2C is very marketing heavy because you have to market your product very well. तो ही लोग लेंगे. What general advice you have for general businesses, marketing perspective, sir?
I think if you have a startup, you cannot rely on traditional marketing because if you're relying on traditional marketing, the big players will always do more than you. So we don't have a billboard because a billboard costs a lot. What I'd rather do is we think of creative ways of getting a lot of people to know about us. Marketing is just about how many people know you, right? Then it's about how good is your product. So we are planning this thing which we call the PinkFly Day. So we've got like 50 ambassadors in different universities in Pakistan. And we're gonna give all of them like 100 stickers, and on the very same day, we're all gonna go all over Islamabad and just give stickers to everyone on the road, in cafes, and then it'll become this thing. Oh, PinkFly Day, and we'll all just like document it. And so it'll be like 20, 30 different people vlogging it. Um, so that's like something very different.
Yeah.
So what you have to do is you just have to think very differently. It's the same as having innovative ideas for startups. You have to think differently. It's the same for marketing it. You have to think differently. Like what we have been doing is like we've been marketing even without a product. So like our marketing is pretty good because people at this point people are just really angry at me. Okay, like,
ये कि
Why
start
are you
क्यों नहीं
not
कर रहे?
launching
Why is
it?
it not here yet?
can you please launch? And I'm like, why do you know about me? Like you shouldn't know about me, you know? And like you are like interviewing me right now, and I was invited to be a speaker on a panel at NUST, I think a week ago, and everyone else other than me had like a very good launch product.
Yeah.
Like I'm actually hiring a marketing person right now, and I just have one question for them. How are you going to get 10,000 customers, 100,000 customers, and then how do you get to a million people? And then if their answer is, I'll get you billboards, I'm like, I can do that myself.
You have to be a creative, I think.
And I think like storytelling helps. What I do is I tell stories. So if anyone sits down with me, they're gonna know about PinkFly so much that they're just gonna be like, I met this guy. He's like kind of crazy, insane. He's doing this thing called PinkFly.
Acha, I think let's, start to wrap up a bit. What would be like the advice you would have for somebody who is starting their business?
To filter out advice, because if you start a business, every person on the internet, every person will give you advice. They're
Gonna have something to say.
oh, have you like thought about this and this? And so I would say, okay, no matter what you want to do, there is someone somewhere in the world who has already done something similar, right? And if they're successful, they've probably written a book or they've been on a podcast. Go listen to that person. So you want to take advice from people who are where you want to be, right? That's number one. Second thing is, if you commit to something, do it fully. I think one of the biggest reasons that things don't work is because people are just not fully committed.
They just leave it in the middle.
If you're a university student, your goal should be, ki, I want to learn as much as possible here. So you've got good libraries, you've got like these instructors, you've got PhD students, right? Go talk to them. So just do things with a lot of conviction. If there was something that you didn't like in your ex-boss, don't be that person. So at PinkFly, if even an intern comes up with an idea, and let's say they go to our head of marketing, that person has to hear them out. And if they can't, they have to explain to them that this is why this is not a good idea. So what that fosters is that everyone thinks about ideas. Okay, oh, like, hey Sam, I have this idea, because they know that I'll listen to them. So be the person that you would report to.
Filtering advice. What's the best advice you've been given, and what's the worst advice you've been given?
The best advice that I was given was my ex-boss, and he told me to like bet on myself, because I was constantly like trying to make money from crypto and stocks, and he was like, hey, when you're buying a stock, you're betting on another company or like another person. So he told me that you're really smart, so just learn to bet on yourself. Okay, I know that I can do this. The worst advice, there's a lot of really bad advice that I get. Yeah, the worst advice would probably be you should have female drivers. You should only have female drivers.
I have a question. Do you like have the customers only are supposed to be female or male?
Yeah, so passengers are only supposed to be female, and there's like a reason for that.
What about like, because a lot of people would be assuming groups of people.
I've gotten that question so many times when you were gonna ask that. Yeah, so if she books a ride, she can bring her friends because it's like her response. The reason we do this is because we do want some female drivers.
Okay, so
Oh,
like
that makes
you
sense.
don't want the opposite
The
scenario.
other way
as well.
around.
As a passenger, if you feel like you're not safe, imagine a driver who has to take 10 rides a day, and then every guy would be like, can I get your number? आप ये क्यों कर रही हैं? क्या लोग आपको तंग करते हैं? क्या मैं आपको तंग तो मैं तो आपको तंग नहीं कर रहा, लेकिन आपको लोग तंग करते होंगे, right? So to prevent that, we've made sure that only female people can, and so we do like facial verification.
Okay, no, that's smart. Acha, if you could go back in time, what's the one thing you would do differently?
How far back am I going?
As far back as you want. Okay, I would say 18. उससे पीछे
Yeah,
जाने
उससे
की
पीछे
जरूरत
नहीं।
नहीं है.
Can I go back to 18?
I would say 19.
Okay, yeah, let's go with
19.
19. Not the paper. Don't
No,
don't
not
give the
the
paper
paper.
advice. Not the
Not the
physics
paper.
paper. उसके बाद.
No, if I could go back in time, um, I would study really really hard in college. Like I would actually learn a lot in college because right now I'm learning engineering. I'm teaching myself engineering. So right now what I'm doing is physics.
Oh.
Okay, that's nice.
So I can tell you what velocity is.
Oh, let's go. You finally reached 8th grade.
I did not know what velocity was. Yeah. So just like I think I have this ability to going back to zero. So right now I'm learning like linear algebra. So I can tell you what. Um, okay, never mind.
What a matrix is.
What I'm also doing is I'm starting this column. I don't have a name for it, so maybe you guys can give me a cool name for it. Because the way I learn is I want to know why something is happening. So like if I ask you, you're pretty smart, so you probably know this. Like, what's the point of like equations? Like, why would someone want to learn equations, or like, what's the point of linear algebra?
Do you want an answer? Because I will yap for an hour, and I don't think we have that time.
But so like, but would you agree that most people don't know?
Most people don't know.
Yeah.
And they're just solving it, right? They just don't know, okay, like what's the point of this? So because I learn things very deeply, so I'm starting a column and anyone can sign up to it, and I'll send like a weekly like email where I would like teach everything that I've learned. There's this guy like Richard Feynman, one of the greatest physicians of all, physicians or like physicists, I don't know what's the right word.
I think
Physicist.
physicist. I think a
Physicist.
physician is a doctor.
Yeah.
So not a physician. Yeah. So he has this thing called the Fineman Technique. If you want to really learn something, teach it to like a 5-year-old. So not really a 5-year-old, but teach it to someone. Yeah. If you can't explain, and I feel the same about PinkFly. I think if you look at a lot of startups, the way they would describe their startup is we do innovative AI based. Like what does that do? Like it's innovation, and I have this like beef with software houses. Okay, all of them have this word innovation in their name, and they're all like we are different. Like okay, what do you do? What do you do that's different? Oh, we make sure our clients are happy.
You're basically just working for them.
It's just glorified work to me. So I think you need to like own what you're building.
That's like the entire reason we have to figure out how to.
Yeah.
So like I've never said that PinkFly is innovative. We're just solving a social.
Acha, speaking of which, like, when can we expect it to be launched?
By the end of this month, definitely. If I don't launch it at the end of this month, I will shave my head.
Already. Again.
Acha, and just as like an ending thing, is there anything you would like to share with the audience?
To not give up on this country. I think Pakistanis are the smartest people in the world. Like we have a solution for everything. And right now there's this wave of hopelessness in Pakistan. I'll go bahir. As someone who has like traveled the whole world, it's not that much greener bahir. But I think we should all. I think there's no greater life purpose that one can have in trying to do something great for your country. Because that you will leave with a legacy, not just money.
I think we can all learn
That's
something
very
from
nice.
that.
If someone tells you that there's something that you can't do, they're saying it because they can't do it.
Thank you so much, Saim. It was very nice to have you.
By the way, I'm not doing podcasts after this.
This is the last one.
Okay.
It was the best one.
But this has been a great podcast.
Okay, guys, that is pretty much it from our side. Thank you for staying tuned, and we'll see you next podcast.
Allah Hafiz.